Hey everyone, this is Jeremy of your Puyallup EdTech TOSA team. And in this video, I'm going to go over how do you enable an assessment that you've already copied over to one of your courses so your students can go ahead and take that assessment. We'll also go through all the different settings that go along with it. So let's go ahead and get started here. If I can exit out, here we go. Okay, so first of all, you need to be logged into Schoology. So I'll get logged in. And my assessment's in one of my courses. So I want to select courses here. And in the last video, I moved over a math quick check. So you probably would have copied that over to your math course. Since I don't have a math course, I have a practice course right here. So I'll select my practice course. Okay. And I have lots of different things in this course here. What I moved was, in the last video, I moved over an individual test. I also moved over a folder that has tests in it. Let's go ahead and take a look at this grade 3 quick check right here. Now, one thing I want to do is I'm going to move to this gear icon first. I'm going to click on it. That just tells me that, okay, do I have this test published or not? And since this is, it's asking me if I want to unpublish the test, that means that it's currently published right now. So I like to keep that where it's at right now. And I also want to go back to edit here. And I'm just checking some of the other features of this. So I want to make sure that I have a category set, for example, because if you don't have a category set to the assessment, it won't automatically feed to a very visible location in your grade book here. You can change it. So if you forget to set a category to an assessment, you can go back and change it later on. But I always like to have those set ahead of time. Okay, I also have the scale set. That looks good. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and press Save Changes. Oh, one other thing though, this due date, it would be nice actually to have a due date set for it, because if you want to have it set to your students' calendar and upcoming events, you want to have the due date set for them. So I'm going to set a due date for this one here. Say it's going to happen on the 4th. And that just lets families know ahead of time that there's going to be assessment that's going to take place on that day. And then I'd press Save Changes. Now, if I want to have that test enabled for students to be able to take right now, I'm actually going to click on the title of the test this time. So I click. Okay. And since this is the first time students are going to be taking this test, it's going to automatically show the questions tab for me. This just shows me which test questions are going to be on this test. I can change individual test questions if I'd like to. So there's this gear icon on the right-hand side. I go ahead and click on that, and I have the ability to edit or even delete a test question if I'd like to. I'll keep these ones here. If I want to add another test question, I can always do that by using this Add Question feature right at the top here. What I'd like to do is I actually like to get into the settings of this test. So I'm going to click on the Settings tab. And this just shows me all the test settings for it. There's an instructions section on here, but I'm looking for submissions here. So submissions is when you want to have your students be able to take the test and submit the test to you. And so this one's already set to disabled. That means that students can't take this test yet. But I'm going to go ahead and enable the test. Now, in addition to just being able to enable the test so students can take it right now, I can also have like a pre-made time period of when the test opens and closes if I'd like to. Some teachers really like that feature here. For this specific one, I'm just going to enable it now, and I can always come back and disable the test when we're done with it. Time limit, I can set a time limit if I'd like to. Attempt limit, that means how many times can students come back and redo the test if you want them to have them, give them an opportunity. For this one here, I'm actually just going to have them be able to get in there one time. I can change this if I'd like to later on. Randomize order, so I can randomize the test questions, so they're all in different orders for different students. I like that feature, so I'll go ahead and have that one. Page break, this one is used for, so you have one question per page. It's kind of a nice feature if you want to break up the test questions, so there's only one question per page. I'll just leave it the way it is right now. Question review. So this one, when students are done going through the test, before they press the submit button, if you want to give them an opportunity to review their test questions and the answers they put down there, you can go ahead and leave that to yes. I like to have this feature set because it's more SBA-like, because they are given the option to take a look at their answers before they submit. Resumable, I like to have mine set to resumable. What that one means is, let's say that your students are taking a test and for some reason they click out of the page or they shut down their computer, something goes on where they are not on that test anymore. This gives them the ability to come back into Schoology and to resume that test. So if you have this set to no, that means that students, once they start it, they can't stop it. And if they do stop for some reason, they can't get back into the test. So I like to have this one set to yes. View submissions. This one lets students take a look at the test after they submitted it. So after they've submitted the test and it's been graded, can they come back in and take a look at the answers with it or the test questions? So if I have it set to no, once they're done with it, they can't get back in the test to see how they did on it. Yes would mean that they can get back into the test and they can see which ones they got right or wrong. The last option here means that they can get back into the test, see what they got right or wrong, and also see what the correct answers are. For this one here, I'm going to go ahead and set it to yes, but I'm not going to give them the ability to take a look at the correct answers. And then I'm going to click on Save Changes. Very, very important. Make sure you click on Save Changes when you're done. If you don't, none of those, all of those changes that you just made, they won't be enacted at all. Okay, so everything's been saved there. It even tells me your changes have been saved. And now my students can take this assessment. But what does it look like for students to take the assessment? Well, one cool feature that Schoology's added to, there's this preview tab at the top. So if I click on preview, it's going to show me what the test is going to look like for my students. Students are going to be able to get this window right here. It'll ask them that, it'll let them know that they can only make one attempt on this test, and that this is how you start this next attempt here. So I'll click on Start New Attempt. And then this is what your students would see when they log in to the test. Now, how do students actually get to the test, though? Well, they would do the same thing that you did when you first started, which was to navigate to the course. So they would navigate to the course that you have the test set in. And they're going to find that assessment. And do you remember how I had you click on the title of the test? That's what students would do. They would click on the title of the test, and that's when it's going to give them the Start New Attempt feature here. Okay. And that's how you go ahead and enable a test for students to be able to take in Schoology.